Hello, everybody. We'll start now our discussion in philosophy and Western thought and culture. Today, we'll talk about philosophy. And philosophy, here we are going to discuss it from the Western thought and culture term of view. Of course, we'll begin with the general ideas. As you can see here, it's a picture of somebody who is thinking, and this is related to art. We'll talk about art in a later stage, and different views and ideas, and how people think differently according to their view and according to their culture, and it depends on where they live and how they were raised up, depending on also the small community, beginning with your family, and then school, and then university, and society that you're living in, of course, and the circle here opens wider and wider, okay? Now, what we'll discuss here, we'll begin with introducing the idea of philosophy. What is philosophy? What does it mean? And we talked about this last time in general. Now we'll discuss it different, maybe with focus, the meaning of philosophy, what does it mean? And certain questions raised when you deal with philosophy. Also, we will discuss the importance of philosophy. Why do we teach philosophy? Why is it important for you to know, let's say, the different themes of philosophy and branches of philosophy? And maybe the main parts of philosophy that we'll concentrate on, of course, these are not all. We'll talk about metaphysics and epistemology, ethics, politics, or the philosophy of politics, and the aesthetics. Okay? This is just to take an idea about the branches that we will discuss today. Now, when we talk about philosophy, you think about, you directly go to the mind, right? So some people say it's the way of living, or it's the way of life. So people differ in their philosophies according to their ways of living. Okay, so I do live in a different way from, for example, somebody who's living in Canada, for example. And so therefore, upon that, maybe our philosophies differ. This is one of the sayings. Now, some people say, no, it's not necessarily. We may have or share the same views. So geography is not something that makes us differ in our views or philosophy. And I agree with this. This is why we have a special term, which is called a universal or a global education, or global citizen. And we say global citizenship. What does that mean? That we may all share the same views or same philosophy, same way of thinking about certain matters. Okay? We agree about certain matters. Now, if we are talking about ways of living, of course, different things may affect the way of thinking of living. Now, and here we are talking about different theories. Now, every person does not have his or her own philosophy. What about this saying? This is another saying. So here I'm just presenting you here in this screen, on screen, different views. It depends on the philosophies they belong to. Some people, when I say some people, according to philosophers, okay? Some people, according to philosophers, say that every person does not have his or her own philosophy. What does that mean? It means it's not your choice. that you don't choose your way of thinking. You don't choose your philosophy. It is there because you are in a certain situation, you are living in that country, so you are taught in a certain way. For example, you are raised by your family, mom and dad. You are taught in that school or in this specific university. You are taught by this teacher or educator, and so on. Based on that, you earn, okay, your philosophy without choosing it, without having the choice. This is one of the ideas. Of course, now we'll see. You may agree with one of the ideas and disagree with others. Now, I'm not my idea, okay? Presenting to you different views and ways of thinking by philosophers throughout the time, whether we're talking about Western or Eastern philosophy, okay, or culture. Now, some say that philosophy is not simply a theory about something. So it's not only theory about something. So what is it? Those who think that it's a theory about something. What is that theory and what is that something, if I want to say, put it in between quotation here and brackets. Now that the word something here, the word something that I'm talking about here may differ. I may talk about, for example, as I said before, here I may talk about, for example, morals, okay? Morals. So it's ethics. If I'm talking about politics, so I'm talking here about the philosophy of politics, certain theories. If I'm talking about art, I'll discuss here aesthetics, what we say aesthetics. If I'm talking about knowledge, it's epistemology. If I'm talking about anything that is not physics or physical and beyond it, that's metaphysics, and so on. So the idea here is that we are discussing different views, okay, and different beliefs, let's say, or forget about belief, different theories, okay, that has to do with different ideas belonging to one specific thing, which is politics, religion, morals, maybe education, knowledge, and whatever, you name it. So any kind of theory that is presented concerning a specific thing, okay, that is philosophy. This is one idea. Others say, no, it's not that philosophy. It's not that part of a theory that is philosophy. It's something else. And if you agree with this saying that philosophy is not simply a theory about something, you agree also with the idea that, for example, certain scientific areas, for example, you can, for example, have in chemistry or in physics or in medicine, for example, you have certain theories. So do you call this philosophy? No, according to them, no, you do not call it philosophy. It's just a theory. It's a way you thought about it in a scientific way. Okay? So is philosophy here away from scientific method? Again, this is the question, okay, to be raised, and you have to think about it. Now, some people say, nor is philosophy is a belief or a wish. So, philosophy is a belief. So, if you agree with this, it means that we have different beliefs, we have different philosophies. For example, if I believe in God, that will be different from those, as a philosophy, those who don't believe in, for example, God. Or if you believe in one God, not many gods, okay? So this is another way of thinking or different belief. Now, this is an idea. Another idea is talking about wishes. So if I have different wishes or different dreams concerning life, does that mean that we have different philosophies? Or does the word wish here include or is part of the word philosophy? Does it have to do with philosophy? Maybe it's not. So I'm just raising here certain ideas and questions here for you to think. Now, some people say philosophy is an activity or it's a process. Now, what do you think? Is it an activity or a process? Or it just comes at the end as if you are reaching a solution? All of a sudden, all you have to be taken into a certain process or activity through your thinking and mind thinking and setup. So is it a quest after wisdom? Now, of course, this part is very important. It's a quest after wisdom, because as we defined it the last time, we said its philosophy is derived from the Greek word, if you remember, Greek word, philia, okay, philia, and which means love, and sophia, which is wisdom. And that, if you think about it together, that makes the love of wisdom, love of wisdom. So philosophy is a particular unique type of thought or style of thinking. Is it true or not? Unique type or thought of or style of thinking. So is it a style like the way that, for example, if you have a different style in writing, does that mean you have different philosophy? Of course, last time we said you cannot have, if you remember when we discussed the idea, the relation between language and philosophy. And we said we cannot have philosophy without language, without the linguistic form. Okay? So anything that you write as a style, for example, if that has a style, it is deeply influenced by your way of thinking, and that would lead you to having a certain or specific philosophy. Okay? Now, these are some ideas that I wanted you to think about. Another thing that here I would like you to think about is, of course, not all what you have here is correct. They are just ways or different ways of thinking and different views from philosophers, maybe from writers. And I want you to think about. At the end, we'll reach a conclusion to see which one or what is the best translation or definition of philosophy. Okay, because here we have translated it from the Greek words, which is love of wisdom. Maybe you reach another solution. Now we'll see. Now, the meaning, as I told you last time, in philosophy, we don't give very specific, let's say, rules or ideas. You are just raising here different views, and I want you to think about it, okay? And at the end, of course, when you choose a certain way of thinking, you will be choosing, for example, a theory, and you adopt this theory and you adapt it accordingly in your way of living, okay? Now, for example, here, this, for example, if you look at this, stop and think. This is what we are trying to do here, as if I'm letting you letting you look at your life, your way of thinking, how things are going in front of you, around you, in all its directions and all its areas, not only a specific area. So I'm just trying to let you stop and think about it or meditate. So philosophy is the study of general fundamental problems. So some of them may be general, some of them may be fundamental. Yes, please.
I think philosophy is a scientific debate.
Yeah, yes, sure. Yeah.
دكتورة في رهف على الواتساب بتقول لك دخليها على المحاضرة.
Yeah, can you please do it
Yeah, yeah.
دكتورة we can الابديت الجديد تاع تيمز we can't add anybody we can't even مرات بيطلع لنا ما بيطلع لنا join meeting.
شباب I already دخلت كل الشباب اللي معي في الجروب 12 اسم طالب أكثر من هيك بقدرش أعمل. I will check it later. Okay. And please خلينا نكمل المحاضرة and then I will give you time. Okay.
No دكتور أنا بقول لك هي معانا هي على الواتساب بس هي بتقول لك إنه مش طالع لها join meeting المحاضرة.
Okay. I will see you later. Thank you.
Alright.
خلينا نكمل please. والاشياء الفنيه هاي we'll see بعدين. تمام؟ تبعت لي مسج على الواتساب and I'll work on it later, not during the session. Now, the meaning of philosophy, as we said, so it's the study of general, we said, fundamental problems. Of course, fundamental. Some people say, is it only fundamental? No, not necessarily. Sometimes it is not, it looks not fundamental to you, but it is fundamental to others. Or it's minor to you, for example, but it's fundamental to others. So this is relative, okay? Now, those who are connected with existence here, which kinds of problems? Only those that are connected with existence. Existence of what? Existence of life. So we say this is important, this is crucial, this is a critical problem, or this is existentialist problem, okay? That has to deal with the universe or people living in this universe. Now, sometimes the problems are related to knowledge. Sometimes problems are related to values or to reason, to mind and language. Now, as you can see here, these are different ways or different kinds of problems. These are different kinds of areas we want to think about as having problems. For example, I may think about philosophy of, for example, existence or life. I may think about the philosophy or problems facing knowledge or the way we think about knowledge. I may think about fundamental problems that deal with values, for example, or reason and mind or language. Can you give me other kinds of areas? Not only existence, knowledge, values, reason, mind, and knowledge and language. What other kinds? What other areas? For example, if I want to add here to continue. What about religion? What about
I think art.
Art, exactly here. You can see it here from the beginning. Politics, arts, we said values here, we said knowledge, okay? Maybe science, as you mentioned here, is mentioned, okay? So, and I can continue, etc. It depends on different areas of or branches of knowledge we find. So, philosophy is the love of wisdom. We agree on this. Philosophy attempts to answer life's big questions. So, if you can give me an example of a big question, please. One of the big questions in life. An example.
Like, why do we exist?
Oh, yes, excellent. Why do we exist? This is the existence here. You see, any one of those. Okay, here, if you think about it and you raise the question, okay, that would be a big question. Why do we exist? Or what is existence? What is knowledge? Okay, anything related to that would be a big question. What are values? Okay, and is that reasonable? Or does that, for example, mind exist?
I
So
think we can say it's the theory of evolution real.
For example, exactly. So different questions that are raised also by scientists. Okay, as you can see now, all questions raised by scientists are meant to be philosophic. Okay, we'll see the difference now. Now, philosophy or what is life about, for example, or is there another life after death? For example, this is a question that should be solved by philosophers. or thought about by philosophers, for example. Now, philosophy attempts so to answer life's big questions. It also is about questions in general. So what is meant here about questions and how it's different from big questions? Number three, how does it differ from number two? Big questions are questions that has to be solved, and all people agree that this is very crucial for people, for all people. They agree on it. But if it's about questions here, it may be for you, it may be a naive question, but for others, it's very important. Okay, so any question that appears to your mind, that would be a question to philosophy. So they take all questions not for granted as some people do. Whatever question comes to your mind, they take it seriously. This is philosophy. So this is why they think that the best philosophers are those who have different or more questions. And who do you think raise more questions? What do you think? Who are the best people to raise questions? If you want to describe them.
Okay, maybe a philosopher, or in my personal opinion, I would think an atheist because he's not afraid to ask any question.
Okay, this is excellent. Or if you want to talk about it away from religion, do you have any other idea? What makes a philosopher philosopher? As you said, one, that you are not afraid to raise hot questions like religion, right? What else? What about kids? Kids. If you think about them.
Yeah, they're not afraid to ask any questions.
Exactly. So the more they raise questions, it means that they are free. They think freely. They are not afraid to raise any question. Now, of course, we have a certain problem in raising kids, especially in our societies, in Arab societies, that we don't let them have that, freedom to speak up their minds and say whatever they want. Okay, they are always afraid to let them speak their minds, and they try to teach them not to raise more questions. And this is what makes them not able to think critically later on. While in the Western culture, as we're going to see later in this course, they let kids and all people in their education system to raise questions whatever and whenever they want. Okay, and this what makes them differ from us in the way that their mental activity develops. Okay, rather than here we are trying to make certain blocks for them. We block it. Okay. Yes, please. You wanted to say something.
Doctor, I think atheists can think outside the box.
Yeah, not only atheists. I'm not just stressing here the idea of thinking away from religion. That's up to you, of course. But I'm talking about whatever comes as a boundary or anything that makes you unable to think freely. That is against philosophy. So, for example, if you say I can't do this or I don't want to think about this because the society doesn't accept it, that would let you be away from philosophy and the philosophical way of thinking. If you say this is not accepted, so don't talk about it, that is away from philosophy. Of course, I'm not saying that if it's you should accept what is not accepted. This is something else. I'm saying just to be able to raise the question and to think about it, as you can see here, the sign, stop and think. Think about it. Don't take things, as they say in English, for granted. Okay? Don't take things for granted, or what they say in Arabic, musallamat. No, you cannot accept musallamat. You have to think about it. There should be a certain philosophy to accept it or not to accept it. It's upon your theory and the way of thinking. Now, another thing here is that philosophers ask questions about what people will believe. So the questions here has to do with belief. So philosophy is about examining ourselves or our beliefs. So it's number 4 or 5, they are similar here. We are talking about how people believe and even our beliefs, because sometimes my belief, I just took it, or I was raised this way without thinking about it. So now I'm in the age or in the time that I have to rethink. This is the term, rethink it. Or in education, we say learn and unlearn, learn and unlearn. Okay, what does that mean? When do you use unlearn? Now you are learning. When do you say let's unlearn? Or what's the use of unlearning? What do you think? Yes, please. Any idea? Is there any sense in saying I need to unlearn? Now, if we have certain beliefs, students, if we have certain beliefs, it means that we are taking them for granted and we are not thinking of them. Okay? So I was raised with this belief, or I was raised with this religion, I was raised with this tradition, I was raised with this culture. So I'm taking it, accepting it, and working on it, and maybe thinking the way all people around me think, or how society is working, I'm working the same way, and so on. Now, when we rethink, we may realize that some things that we accepted are not okay. I may change my mind and choose a different road, different way of thinking, different interpretation, okay, for what I believe in. I may be convinced of something else. It depends on my age, it depends on what I'm learning. So what I used to know and accept and what I learned before, now I need to unlearn. It's like erasing them, okay? Erasing them. I need to unlearn to make sure that I can now start or have a new beginning, okay? Because the best people to earn knowledge are those who are kids, who are, it depends on the age. If age is, I'm talking about little people, little kids. So it means that their mind is, open. It's like a sponge. They accept anything. But if your mind is full of ideas that were built in because of the education system, because of the way your parents raised you, because how the country has a political, for example, regime, how you were taught, because of that, because of tradition in society, because of religion that you were taught and raised up upon. In that situation, you don't have, you have, the mind is stuffed with different ideas that you cannot change. You find yourself stuck, okay, in a certain idea. Unless you unlearn certain things, which means that you accept to erase them and to give the space for thinking about it and rethinking about it, and maybe you will reach different conclusions. Unless you do this exercise, you cannot reach what is meant by philosophy here, okay? Now, let's move to another question here, which is, what are these big questions? What are these big questions? Now, any question here, we have different questions. Some of them are big, some of them are not. Okay, it depends on the situation. For example, they all begin with, for example, what, why, how. Can you continue here other questions? Beginning with WH, for example. What, why, how. We can continue. What about where and when?
Who?
right? Yes, please. You want to say something, Hamad?
بقول لك دكتورة زي مثلا هو why who what.
Yes. Who exactly? For example, if I say who is the creator or who made this world, so this what makes it a big question. Okay, who is responsible for our existence? This is a big question. You see, who is to be, for example, responsible for this kind of action? This is moral. See, this is moral. Who is to rule our country? This is political. What makes it philosophic? If we want to talk about different regimes or different, kinds of regimes, for example. So they all give different kinds of philosophic questions. But the number one question for philosophy is why. Okay, the number one of philosophy is why. This is why we keep on hearing, from if you are listening to a little kid or a child, they keep asking the questions or raising the questions to their mothers, for example, why. Whenever you give them any answer, they continue saying why, right? Because they think that this is not enough, that the answer that they are giving us, for example, is not enough. If you say, for example, I don't know, for example, somebody who's raising the question concerning religion, let's say, as an example, of course, raising a little child asking his mother, and she answered him, for example, that God is creator. And then he may ask why is God the creator? To her, she simply says, without why, that's it, right? This is how we were raised in Arab countries, I mean, of course. Now, philosophy here makes you even think about what the things that are taken for granted and rethink about them. You don't ask the idea here, of course, when we raise the question, what? Usually it's scientific. How? Again, it's scientific. It tells you the way how it's done. But why? Why is it's here we are talking about reason and rationality. So here are some questions that are raised by philosophers, by the way. For example, here we have certain moral questions, like a question where if you need to decide whether this is right or wrong. For example, if they say stealing is wrong, right? Stealing is wrong. Now this question is very important and is raised in philosophy. What makes stealing wrong? Now, if you answer what makes stealing wrong is, let's say, law, or is religion, you are not giving it you are not thinking about it in a philosophic way. Okay, you're just saying that stealing is wrong because it is forbidden in law, or stealing is wrong because it's written in the Quran or Bible, but you are not thinking about why it was forbidden. So if you think about the question why in depth, why it was wrong or forbidden in Quran or in Bible, or it was forbidden in certain law. If you think about it this way, you are beginning to reach or to start thinking in a philosophic way. And this question is raised, of course, that may let you able to raise other questions, for example. For example, here we have what we call the ultimate questions, which is a question that has to do or that has no definite answer. So is it right or wrong? You can say it depends on the situation. People may believe it's true or false, but they cannot tell you for sure. That's the ultimate question. For example, if you say, for example, okay, don't misunderstand me. Is, for example, is it accepted to lie? If I say definitely it's not accepted. So here when you say it's definite, so it's not philosophic. So philosophic means that you have to think about it. Nothing is sure. You have to, to rationalize things and think about it. And you don't give, ultimate answers, or you give only ultimate questions. So why do well, for example, the question, why do we live? This is a philosophic question. Or why, if you believe in God, why did God create us or create people? So now, if you can tell me that there's an answer in the Quran and in Bible, yes, for sure there's an answer. But philosophy doesn't take any answer in any way, whether it's in Bible or Quran or if it's scientifically proven. They think about it. They rethink about it. Why is it this way in Quran? Why is it this way in Bible? Why do I have to accept what is accepted now or proved by science? Maybe in the future it will be proved vice versa and the other way. You see? So they take everything as, they don't take it for granted. For example, these are certain questions that are raised from philosophers. Is it ever right to lie? See, this is a question. So, and we have certain other questions. For example, when is it, if you say yes, it's accepted to lie, you can continue another question that says, when is it accepted to lie? Is there a certain, situation that is accepted to lie? Of course. And when is that? Some people may say, no, definitely not. You cannot. So it depends on your values. It depends on your morals. It depends on the way you think of morals, that's that we discussed. One of the branches that is called ethics. So it depends on ethics. Again, another question, do aliens exist? Is there anything called aliens coming from another universe? Is there an existence of another universe? Now, again, if you say yes, it's written in the Bible, it's written in the Quran. Again, they don't accept that philosophers, they don't accept what is given in any source. They rethink about it. Okay? Of course, at the end, they will accept one of the sources, but it will be justified and rationalized in their way of thinking, and there will be certain, specific way of thinking to be raised, and that is the theory or philosophy. Should we put wild animals in the zoo? Is it accepted that we put wild animals in the zoo? Or some people say, is it accepted to have pets in your home? Again, this is or is it accepted to eat meat, for example? This is moral question. This is philosophic. And why not? Okay, of course, different discussions will be raised according to the way of thinking. For example, what happens when we die? Is there another life? Or is there life after death? And do ghosts exist? Ghosts, or if you consider them as jinn, what they call jinn in Arabic, is it ever right to steal? It's like lying here, lying and stealing. Is it accepted? And what are the circumstances if you accept? Should testing on animals be allowed? If you are talking about here vaccines, for example, is it good? Is God real, or is it imaginary from the minds of people? You see, so this, for example, this kind of question is not accepted in certain society, in our Eastern society, for example. Of course, if somebody says that, at a certain age, they will say, no, you cannot raise this question. How dare you, right? Of course, I'm not talking only about religion, different things. Maybe it's about something that is political here. Now, so you open your mind to everything, as I said. Even here, you think about, as you can see, your mind should be open to questions. And it's the way that you used to think. Here you have to rethink about it and analyze things in a different way. So what's the importance of philosophy here? Okay, seeing that, we can see that the study of philosophy enables you to think carefully, clearly, in important matters, okay, important things. So you think clearly and carefully. Clearly, because usually we can see that different, in certain areas, we are not thinking clearly. Sometimes we have certain things that make it, vague or not clear. So what makes it clear is that you have to rethink about it in a careful way. Okay. And in studying philosophy, we learn to take a step back from our everyday, a step back. Why a step back? Because we have to revisit our ideas. We have to rethink about it. So you explore here deeper. You go deeper. You go in depth. You go to bigger questions. You underpin thoughts that has to be erased here. Okay. Now the focus is here in the study of philosophy is to learn not what to believe, but how to think. So in philosophy, I'm not telling you should believe in this and this and this, as you are taught, for example, in religion, or as you are taught in politics, or as you are taught in morals or values that you were raised on. They kept saying this is how you should be doing. Okay, rules from the beginning. Now, I'm not against rules, of course, but here the idea here says that in philosophy you have to think not what to believe. You have to think of how to think. You have to learn or to study or to be taught how to think. So it's this topic is so related, students, to another topic, which is thinking strategies and the way of thinking and mentality and so on. So we'll talk about it in another session, of course, which is how to think, or maybe creativity is part of it, okay? And creation, the idea of creation. I know some people, they refuse the word creation, especially in Arabic, but in English we say creation, which is let your mind think freely, okay? And yes, you can create something. Now, studying philosophy, this is one of the most important things. It helps in sharpening your analytical abilities. So the way your abilities will be more better if you study philosophy. You will have critical and analytical thinking. It enables you to identify and evaluate the strengths and weaknesses in anything, in any position. Not only strengths and weaknesses, and also opportunities and threats and challenges that you face, so that you can adapt into and try to reach better solutions. Now, this tree is what we call a tree of knowledge. Here are, of course, it's not all, it's part of it. Some branches of philosophy. Some philosophers say that the roots of philosophy is what? It's physics. Here, you can imagine, it's physics. So if you are studying physics, or let's say mathematics, or the different branches of science differ in the branches of philosophy. So physics is here. Okay, let's imagine physics it's here, while, for example, logic or mathematics is logic, by the way, in philosophy, or mathematics is based on logic. Okay, you can find it here, another branch. I can put another branch here, which is logic, and that is what makes mathematics acceptable and defined according to philosophy is its logic. Now, the other part that is not clear here is the metaphysics. So we have here physics, which is the scientific part, the metaphysics, which is the beyond physics, and we'll talk about it now, what is metaphysics. And we have epistemology, which is knowledge, okay? And we have ethics, which is about values, and we have, of course, anything or the philosophy of politics and the philosophy of art, which is aesthetics. Now, let's take the first one, which is metaphysics. Metaphysics deals with existence. So, as you said, how do we really live? Some people said maybe we are not living. Maybe it's just a dream. You think that you are living, but actually it's a dream. So you may say this is nonsense. You may say that person is crazy. It's up to you. But these are questions that are raised by philosophers. So metaphysics deals with existence, and they raise the question, what is real, or what is reality? And if you accept certain ideas, they say they are a certain philosophy which is called existentialist, okay, or existentialism, al-wujudiyya in Arabic, okay. They raise a question: is there a God? See here, a God, it's a small letter, right? Because if you believe in one God, you write it different with a capital G. But if is there a God, they are asking the question. Maybe they don't agree. Okay, so it's a question to be raised. Now, according to religious people who are not accepting philosophy, they refuse this question. They say here you are not accepting religion as it is. They think that you should take it as musallama. Okay, so philosophy doesn't accept what we call musallamat, or they are not accepting anything for granted or premises. So they take it and they discuss it. They raise questions. They are not afraid. Okay. Now, if it's proven or proved that there is God, so they'll accept it and they will pray and so on. See. So what is the universe and what isn't? What is in the universe? What is not in the universe? So they take this question: what is real? What is real and what is not? So different questions by metaphysicians. Now, for example, Plato, one of the famous, as I told you last time, famous philosophers in Greek literature or philosophy, he had a lot to say about this. And he said one of the biggest ideas is for example, he said, all of the objects we see around us, what we call the real world, there are just shadows, reflections of an idealized form that exists in another universe. See? This is what he used to think, Plato, that what you think is real is not real. It's just a shadow. It's just a reflection of something else that exists in another universe, and that is what exists in another universe. That is the idea, or that is the ideal. Okay, ideal here, it's another here. So existentialism, this one is a theory in philosophy. Another theory in philosophy is this one, which is idealism, and that is known as one of the main philosophies by Plato. Okay, so to metaphysics here, it's trying to make sense of what's in the world around us using logic and reason. So you go beyond physics, and you concentrate on logic, and you may reach different conclusions, but they depend mainly on the ideal, not ideal. Now we'll discuss it later. What is ideal? What is meant by ideal and idealism? We'll take the different philosophers or philosophies. So metaphysics here is working about or concentrating on idealistic views. Also, it's important because here they say it gives us the basic of our philosophical view. That's why Aristotle, also another philosopher, he called it the first philosophy. So the first philosophy, or the first philosophy to think about, is the ideal. Okay. Now, if we have time, we'll continue with epistemology. We still have time. Yes, epistemology, which is here, we are thinking about wisdom, about knowledge. And, of course, in knowledge, we have certain propositions. The proposition itself may be part of it truth, and part of it, what we say, belief. And we'll see the difference. And some of them here in the middle are poorly justified as true beliefs. So, for example, what is known as truth is scientifically, for example, proved. Okay. Some of them are not proved totally, so this is your belief, not proved scientifically, I mean. Some of them are partly or poorly justified as a true belief, so it may be a truth, okay, and a belief, but is not totally, and critically identified. Still, we have, something vague here. We have to reconsider and think about it. So epistemology here thinks about, or it concentrates on, the meaning of the study of knowledge. So it is concerned with the theory of knowledge. The epistemology, when we say epistemological studies, we mean the nature of study, or the knowledge itself, nature of knowledge. How is it built in our mind, for example, how it is justified? Is there a justification for it? Is it rational? Is your belief rational? Okay, by reason. And what do you mean? If we say we know this, what do you mean by we know? And how do we know? Now, of course, if we say what and how, this makes you go to the, for example, psychology. You study psychology here. How do we think? How do we know? And the process, the mental process, you see. But if you ask why, so here it's different. Is knowledge meaningful? Is this knowledge meaningful? If you say yes. If I asked why do you consider it meaningful? At that point, you are raising the question of philosophy here, which means, does something make sense? What makes it make sense? Is there something specific that makes it make sense? These are the questions that may be raised in epistemology. Okay. Now, another area is ethics. As I said in the big questions before you judge wrong and right, what is wrong and what is right, and whether this is an acceptable solution to reach, is it accepted by God, is it satanic, or what is it? So ethics gives you, as you can see here, the sign, two roads, as if it gives you two roads. So we're not saying this is right or wrong here in ethics. We are just trying to think about it. So it's moral philosophy. It's a philosophy that concerns morals, and it's a branch of philosophy that involves, systemizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong. So we are talking about the system itself of values, whether we want to make it, if you want to make any priority, which is more important. For example, can I, for example, if I ask this question, can I steal to be able, or to live? Can I steal to live or to survive? This is an ethical question. Is it accepted to lie so as to survive, for example? How can you defend your values? And how certain concepts are recommended? Okay, and what makes it right and what makes it wrong? Why, for example, death penalty is accepted in certain country but not accepted in another country? Isn't that based on ethics and values and way of thinking? Of course. So now the question here, the ethics seeks to resolve, is that question of human morality. And we defend it here, defining the concepts such as good and evil, right and wrong, virtue and vice, and justice and crime, or crime and justice. And this is very, it is raised in certain books in literature. I know that, for example, you've read certain works of philosophers and writers, very famous writers concerning crime and punishment, for example. I'm sure you know it. And Tolstoy wrote about that. Now, these are the things to be raised. Also in politics, or with, I prefer to say it, to call it political philosophy or political theory, as a study of topics such as politics, liberty, for example, justice, property, if we are talking about property of the people or of the nation, and the rights, and justice, as I said, and law, law and order, and authority, all these words, democracy, what else? Legitimacy, government, freedoms, liberties, okay, or liberty, to how to protect, or should we protect people, and how freedoms should be protected, and law, what about duties and citizens and governments, all these words, equality and equity, all these are discussed in terms of philosophy of politics. And another branch is aesthetics, where we talk about the branch here, it talks about art and how we explore nature of art and beauty and taste also, and creation of appreciation of beauty. Do you think this is beautiful? This question would be different from your point of view, from my point of view. What makes it beautiful? This is, or why is it beautiful? Okay, why is this art? Why that is not considered as art? So is there, for example, how beauty and art differ? Is anything beautiful art or artistic, or is art beautiful? Okay, what about if you see something that is not beautiful? Does that include art? For example, in films and in paintings? Does this thing, for example, is this considered as art or just another object, or what? So these are different questions to be raised, and I'm giving you here one of the, if you just go to philosophy and search for the word basics, or the study of philosophical thought, you will see in the web, you'll see all the ideas coming or talking about philosophy. Now, by this, I would like to end our class, but I will make now, I'll stop the recording, and I'll see if you have any question, please. I can listen to